Again, David Njoku is reportedly seeking a trade. ESPN last week actually outlined a possible trade that the Browns can explore involving David Njoku. Here's what it is. They say that the Browns could trade David Njoku to the 49ers for safety Tarvarius Moore. They say the Browns desperately need help at safety, so much so that Cleveland fans have literally started a petition for the team to move on from Andrus and Dejo. The problem is that there aren't many safeties available on the trade market, and the Browns don't match up well with most of the teams who might have one available. Moore was a promising free safety prospect coming out of Southern Miss, but the 2018 third rounder hasn't been able to crack the 49ers lineup and has played only 7% of the defensive snaps in 2020. This is a relatively minor move, but both sides might benefit from looking at the other team's disappointing draftee. You look at Tarvarius Moore, he's a 24-year-old safety, third NFL season. He's got 54 tackles, 5 passes defended, and 1 fumble forced in 38 career games since entering the league. You look back at his career in Southern Miss, he had 59 tackles, 3 interceptions in his senior season that led Southern Miss in both categories. And one notable stat, he caused an interception in the Super Bowl last year against Patrick Mahomes. So, my question is this. Would you seek a trade for David Njoku? And if so, would that be an opportunity that you might be willing to explore if you're the Browns?
I'll understand. There are no petitions being written out by Browns players to get rid of one of their defensive backs. Am I right on that, Mary Kay?
Yeah, not by Browns players. Perhaps by Browns fans.
Maybe. But we don't really know of any of them. We can't say for sure that that's happened. All right. A guy like Njoku, first of all, we've heard this song and dance before. We heard it up to a couple of weeks ago, and supposedly he wanted to stay and not be moved. And then they won a game or two, and he wanted to hang in there. Is there anything to this, or is this an agent doing his talking, or what is it?
Well, first of all, this is my own report. This was my story from yesterday, so I can actually speak to it. The deal is that he would just like to go somewhere and play, and this is not a disgruntled situation. It's not a doghouse situation. The Browns like him. They really don't want to trade him, but he would just like to be somewhere where he's not really like second or third on the depth chart at tight end. The problem is there's not really necessarily a market right now. Now maybe a market will develop between now and the trade deadline on November 3rd. Maybe something will rear its head, but right now there's really nothing that seems to make a whole lot of sense. If it does happen, I think they would do something. So I think it's something that bears watching, but I can assure you that, I stand by the story the way that I wrote it.
Well, they're going to be halfway through the season in another week or so. And as you suggest, if some team needs him at this point or picks him up at this point, he's not going to get that much playing time or big play time, I wouldn't think, coming into a new team at that point. And it's not a guy who's a guy who's going to make the Pro Bowl team. So it seems like he's barking up the wrong tree. However, is there something out there? There was one example of a defensive back from San Francisco. Is there something out there that maybe might interest the Browns? Because I don't think you get more than a 4th, 5th round pick for him.
No, you wouldn't get much for him, and that's why I don't think that they will actually do anything, because they're not going to just give him away. I mean, he's a good tight end. They like him. He provides depth. It's just that he would like to go somewhere and be a number 1 tight end. He's a 1st round pick. He believes that he has starting ability, of course. They all do. And, he just wants to have a chance to go out there and display that. He had 1 catch in the last game, 1 catch in the previous game. And
that's only one more than you and I.
Yeah, exactly. But as we mentioned, a lot of these skill players are going to start getting frustrated here because they know that as of right now, the passes are just not going to be coming. And for these guys, even though the most important thing is winning football games, but there's also the element of they want to have nice careers too, and they want to go to Pro Bowls, and they want to get contracts. They want to get their next contract. They want to get their incentives and all those kind of things. So there's a team aspect to it, and then there's also an individual aspect.
Okay, but can't they all see the schedule on the wall that says there's some games there. You got to wait for them here, but there are some very, very winnable games where these guys can make a name for themselves.
Well, yes, I think some guys can see that, and I think some guys see light at the end of the tunnel. I think that David Njoku is one player who thinks that with Austin Hooper as the starting tight end, and then Harrison Bryant, gaining some ground and really getting some more reps, that it's probably better for him if he can find somewhere to go. Now, yes, it would be hard for him to crack a starting lineup unless somebody has an injury and they need a starting tight end.
Right.
In that situation, he'd get plenty of playing time.